Welcome to this session. I'm thrilled to be here. I was here in 2013. I bought this polo shirt that I was wearing for my talk in 2013. It was a blast. Everyone was like, "Ooh, look at that!" Okay, yeah, good trick. It's the same polo shirt. I can assure you, it has been washed at least once since 2013. But I decided to wear it again as a sign of respect and thank you to the people that brought me here. Thank you for being here after lunch in this talk. It's going to be an experimental talk. It's the first time I'm using this display. I've done similar things in meetups and things like that, but not in a talk. The talk is called The Core of Agile, and I'm going to be building on the same things I was explaining here 3 years ago. In 2013, I did a talk that was called Why Agile? And I did it in Spain for the Agile Spain conference. It worked really well. I did it here. We had a lot of fun. In this talk, what I was saying is, why are you doing Agile? Oh, it's because the Post-it notes. It's because we are going to get hyper-productive. And I'm like, yeah, but how? No, it's because, you know, Post-it notes, they have this magical field that when you put it on a company, everything gets like perfect by magic, by Agile magic. And also, Jeff Sutherland says so. He says that if you do Scrum, you will become hyper-productive, not just regular productive. That's not good enough for us. We want to be hyper-productive. No? And I was like, shall we consider what's the real value that Agile is bringing for us? And in that moment, I came to the conclusion that Agile was about 2 or 3 basic things. Suddenly, a year and a half later, Alistair Coburn, one of the signatories of the Agile Manifesto, he came with this idea of the heart of Agile. And he says, you know, at the very end, Agile is about 4 things. And it was basically the same 4 things I was promoting in 2013 as in this Why Agile talk. So I got really excited. We were up to something. And then recently, you have Joshua Krievsky, also a person that is very influential in the Agile world. And he started talking about something he calls modern Agile. And again, modern Agile is about 4 things. So you were mentioning, maybe I'm going to tell you if Agile is coming to an end or something. You know, in these days, we have the scaling frameworks, and we have a lot of tools and approaches. And I think that the future of Agile might very well be in the past of Agile, in the beginning of Agile, in coming back to the core ideas behind agility. And I'm going to give you some ideas on how to get practical on this, because it's very easy to be philosophical about the values and the principles and all that. And at the end of the day, I want to give you things that you can start doing on a Monday morning. Okay, so that will be my goal for this talk. It's difficult, but I think I can do something like that. So, okay, Agile. I still have many customers that when I tell them about agility, especially when we talk about business customers, the people that run the business, it's still difficult to describe what's agility, you know, because some people are, no, agility is sprints and cross-functional teams. And maybe it's about Post-it notes, and you know, then we start putting all kind of things around this concept of agility. For instance, many of you okay, we already mentioned sprints. If you are working on sprints, then you might probably be doing Agile. Then, of course, how can you be Agile if you don't have Post-it notes? And then you start estimating things in story points, and you're like, what's story points? Oh, it's the size of user stories. What's a user story? Oh, user stories, now we don't have features or we don't have requirements anymore. We have user stories because we are about the value to the customer. And then I see many companies where they had this customer that was saying, here you are, 1,000 requirements, and now they are like, no, we are Agile now. We have to tell user stories. And they're like, oh, well, then as a user, I want you to deliver these 1,000 of requirements by Monday, so I can make my deadlines. How do you like that user story? Okay, and now you're making user stories, and then you're using story points. And of course, you have Kanban boards. Those are nice. And of course, you have automation everywhere. And then you start having new roles. Now you have Scrum Masters. What's a Scrum Master? I don't know. Jeff Sutherland says we need Scrum Masters. You be the Scrum Master. Okay. And then we start having product owners. And when we introduce, Mary Poppendieck says that product owner is the worst thing that Scrum has done for the Agile community. I wholeheartedly agree. Not because of the concept is great, the name sucks. Because product owner very rarely is the person that has the power to take decisions on the product. And if he takes if he's that person, if she's the person that takes decision on the product, very rarely that person can be half of her time with the team, helping them and performing the product owner role. That's why when I travel around the world, helping big companies and medium companies to implement agile frameworks and to transform the companies, they say, oh, our biggest problem is that the product owner is not doing the product owner job. And I'm like, that very rarely happens with coders. Nobody says the coder is not doing the coder job because you will fire that guy. It's evident. But if you're a product owner, you get not to do your job. How cool is that? Okay, so people center themselves around all these ideas of tools and methods and frameworks and roles and processes. This is what Alistair Coburn calls barnacles. You know what's a barnacle? Is this a small animal that gets attached to the hull of a boat? In Spain and in Portugal, we eat them. They're delicious. Okay, it's like yo, you should try. But of course, you're sailing a boat, and these small animals, they start getting attached to the hull of the boat. Well, okay, maybe one or two. It's not a big problem. When you have thousands of barnacles, then the boat cannot sail anymore. You have to get the boat out of the water. You have to clean all the hull and paint it again. And Alistair Coburn says that all these kind of things, they might eventually be useful, even frameworks. Even if we say, okay, this is about, Agile is about Scrum. Agile is about SAFe. I was trying to coach a company. They didn't hire me at the end. And they say, no, our problem is we want to implement SAFe. And I was like, no, that's not your problem. You have several problems, and somehow you have come to the conclusion that if you implement SAFe, you will solve your problems. Can we talk about the problems instead of the framework? And they were like, no, we want to implement SAFe. Okay, that's it. And okay, so a lot of people, instead of focusing on the idea of agility, they get lost in all these barnacles, okay? So when I try to explain Agile to the people, I go back to the only viable, valid definition of what's agility, which is the Agile Manifesto. Everything that came later on built on the foundations of the Agile Manifesto. You had a team of very talented and lucky people because they were on the right place, on the right time, okay? And they came with this beautiful definition of a new way of working. And as you probably know, the manifesto, it's basically 4 values and 12 principles. And they say things like, we value individuals and interactions over processes and tools. We value adapting to change over following a plan. We value customer collaboration over contract negotiation and all that. And I mention all these values to customers, and I try to also mention some of the principles, and usually the response I get from my customers is like, I don't get it. So yeah, okay, I have this legacy code in the core banking system, and now we are gonna individuals and interactions it. What's the meaning of that? When am I going to get my new core? So yeah, okay, I get the manifesto. I think I get the manifesto. I've been reading that piece of literature for 15 years or 20 or 10 years or whatever, and I've been trying to. There's a lot of wisdom behind those words, but for most people, when you talk to them about the Agile Manifesto, they just don't get it. It's like, okay, but tell me more about how are we going to change things in our company. So I brought it down. After a lot of analyzing the manifesto, I brought it down to 4 dimensions. 4 things that you have to talk to your people about. If you want to fire an agile transformation in your company, what you have to do is start conversations around these 4 topics. That's it. It's 4 things. So the first thing you have to start talking about is about early and continuous delivery of value. Value is a big word. You'd be surprised, or maybe not, if you knew how many companies I will stop somewhere in a hallway and say, how do we provide value? And they don't know. I'm an IT guy. My mission on Earth is to prevent things from going into production. That's what we do in infrastructure. Do not go into production, because if you put things into production, then the servers, they get stressed. And that shouldn't happen. So I don't know about value. I don't know what we build in this company. That's my role. And you're like, fucking. So you realize that that person is doing something that he thinks is the right thing to do, but he's actually harming customers and he's harming our ability to deliver value to the customers, okay? And you'd be surprised how many people in accounting or in IT or in development or in innovation, marketing, they don't actually understand how the company provides value to the customers. Then another dimension that we should start conversations around, it's adaptation. Adapting to customer needs, including the customer in the equation, collaborating with your customer, not just deliver. A lot of people have believed that Agile or Scrum or whatever the framework you prefer, it's about productivity and hyper-productive teams. And productivity has been a big word in the Agile ecosystem. And I think it's time we banish this word from our conversations. Because what we are doing is we have these statistics that says that 40% of the software we're doing worldwide gets never used by no one. And if you are doing a lot of crap, you don't want to do twice the crap, twice as fast. Okay, that's not your problem. You should be actually looking at what you're doing and saying, why are we producing 40% of features nobody wants? Sometimes I say, okay, maybe people are using your features. Let me put it this way. 40% of the software you're doing in your organization, you can do it and it will provide some value, but you could also not do it and nothing will happen. So that's terrible. I mean, and then we put a lot of pressure into people and in the deadlines, and we get a lot of, turnover. People get burned out and leave the company because we are doing something that, man, we could also not do it. That's terrible, and we still talk about productivity, and I think that productivity is not the game anymore. That was the game for industrial companies in the Taylor age. Then we also have another dimension, another thing that we can talk about, which is collaboration. I wholeheartedly remember the first time I read this book by Alistair Coburn's Agile Software Development, The Cooperative Game. And I was like, okay, I'm going to learn a lot about agility. And I start reading the book. The first 100 pages, it's about communication, communication. And I was like, Alistair, where are we going to start delivering software? And he was like, no, communication. Fuck this guy. I want to know how to do unit testing and all that. And then years later, I read the book again and I was like, oh my God, he was so right. Okay, the guy, he's been around for a while and he knows what he's talking about. And yeah, collaboration is the name of the game. I still have, companies that they are in the early stages of agile transformations, and then they have teams, and then you have the yellow team, you have 5 people, okay, that's great, and then you have the pink team, and there's 4 people in that team, okay, that's nice, and then we have the violet team, and I'm like, how many people do we have in that team? And they say, no, just one, Violet, come, this guy wants to meet you, and I say, hi, I'm Violet, I am the violet team, and you're like, what? A team of 1. I've seen scores of companies worldwide having teams of 1. It makes no freaking sense. It's a joke. But the book says we have to make we need to have teams. So hey, Violet, what? Now you are a team. Oh, gosh, I feel so creative and productive now. Ooh, it's like I have superpowers. What? It's the same thing with leadership, okay? Now they say, no, in order to have collaborating teams, self-organizing teams, motivated individuals, high-performing teams, you have to get rid of bosses and you need leaders, people who inspire, people who are able to make people reach their full potential. And then a lot of companies, they say, hey, John, say what? Now you are not the human resource manager anymore. Now you are the human resource leader. And you're like, ooh, that's so cool. And then you have a warehouse manager. He's not the warehouse manager anymore. He's the warehouse leader. And he's like, what's a warehouse leader? I don't know. It's like a warehouse manager, but better. Okay, so we actually don't understand what are the dimensions of collaboration and leadership and all that. And then, of course, that's my personal favorite. Of course, it probably could involve all the other 3, but if you don't have continuous improvement, then I don't know what we're doing. I've helped so many companies to implement a framework, which is not the final game, but it's a step on the game. And then I visited them 2 years ago, and they are in the exact same stage that I left them, because that was better than what they had before. So we're right, we're fine. This is just fine, just good. Just fine, just good. It's not the name of the game. We should have something better than that. We should be able to produce better things, and we should have change agents in our companies and groups of people that are constantly trying not only to remove impediments, You know, in Scrum, we talk about remove impediments, but there are many things that we can do in order to improve that is not also remove impediments. You can develop your people. Developing your people, having better developers, having better managers, having better analysts, having a better communication with your customer, having your customer more frequently involved in your, maybe you can call that an impediment, but okay, it's bigger than that. Maybe trying new things, implementing new methods, trying to investigate, research, innovate, learn. Learning is not removing impediments. It's another dimension of continuous improvement. So there's a lot to be done in the continuous improvement dimension. So for me, Agile is about these 4 things. Usually when I explain these things, when I have a little more time, because today we are tight on schedule, but when I have more time, I go into each of those dimensions. And for instance, when I talk about early and continuous delivery of value, I say, okay, we all think sprints and we all think sprint reviews, but there's also the portfolio management. If we are starting, you know, every single healthy company in the planet has more projects and initiatives than the ones they can actually do. That's the definition of a healthy company. If you have more capacity than projects, then you're not healthy. You have a problem. You have to fire people because you have a lot of capacity and you're idle. You have nothing to do. That's not healthy. Usually you will have more projects than capacity to do those projects. And then when you are not able to do them all, and all of them seem so interesting, our managers cannot prioritize. They don't know how to take decisions and kill projects and say, no, I'm sorry. We have the capability of doing 6 projects in this year, or maybe 6 projects this quarter. So we are not doing this, we are not doing this, and we are not doing this and this and this. And then maybe this we're doing, and then maybe this and this we are doing, and then maybe this, and oops, there's no more time for doing projects. So these ones, they will have to wait. And everything you don't kill, you put on a queue. And if you start many projects at the same time, you know what happens. You will lower the productivity of your company. You will lower the efficiency. If you have 100 people and you have 100 projects, it will be a matter of time that someone says, oh, I've had an idea. We have 100 developers. We have 100 projects. You see? If it's one person in each project, all projects gets done. It's amazing. And it's a very bad idea, okay? It's bad idea trademark, okay? So you shouldn't be doing that. That's part of agility. How do you solve that? With daily meetings, with Post-its on the wall? You solve that with, I don't know, Scrum Masters and retrospectives? Probably you will need to change the way you're managing the portfolio in your company. And that's also agility, because that will make us focus on the few projects that will deliver the most value to the customer. And for me, that's part of that dimension of early and continuous delivery of projects, of value. Then we also have these companies, you know, we all come from a background where we had these deadlines for projects, and we were used to have a value delivery that was something like this. We deliver nothing, 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 we deliver nothing. We reach the deadline, we deliver nothing, 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 we deliver. And then suddenly we deliver everything, okay? This is the Death March project, okay? By the way, this joke, it works everywhere in the planet, okay? You know, I like to make people laugh, and, you know, stand-up comedy is difficult when you have different cultures like Latin America, Israel. Oh, I get into much trouble in Israel. I always make the wrong joke in Israel. It's very easy to step, but they are very forgiving. But this one, it works everywhere. We've all been there. So, and then we have some people that are implementing Agile frameworks, and they are Sprint 1, Sprint 2, Sprint 3, Sprint 21. Do you have something in production? No. We have something you can show you in staging. What's staging? Or it works on my machine. That's brilliant. Okay, unplug your machine. We're going to put it on the data center. So, okay, maybe you are playing with the idea. You should go a little bit further. You should be able to actually deliver and put things into production earlier and more continuously. Amazon is putting things into production every 16 seconds, 3,500 times a day. That's the name of the game. And, you know, I'm working with banks this day, and they are like, we can put something into production in 18 months. And I'm like, okay, if we bring that down to 9 months, that's 100% improvement. It's not the end of the game, it's not the goal, but we should start somewhere. One of the things that happened to me in Agile transformations is that I believe that everyone should start doing continuous improvement on a Monday morning, 8 a.m. That's not going to happen in a bank. Okay, so you have to be progressive. You have to be continuous. The same way we deliver value in Agile projects. We should have something like continuous integration. I mean, we should be doing small deliveries, and maybe we are not faster, maybe we are not more productive, but if we reach a deadline and we have some 80% of the value ready to be launched, then I have a competitive advantage, because I'm like, okay, I still wanted those 20% of features, but guess what? Experience tells me most of the features that are at the end of a project, nobody wants them, or if you've done things right and you've actually prioritized those features that are mandatory, needed, the ones that make sense on the project, then you have a decision. Then you can say, okay, maybe we can wait and say, okay, until it's done, so you have in the same situation, or we can launch version 1 and then wait a couple of months and then launch version 2, and that's an option we didn't have before because it was all or nothing. Or maybe we can say, guess what? Right now, there's another opportunity somewhere else. I can get this team and put them to work into something that will bring billions to a company. In the other case, how many times we have an opportunity, there's no one available. Everyone is so busy for a year's time because they are in huge projects. Being able to break projects into smaller initiatives, being able to manage the portfolio at a level where the biggest thing you accomplish, it's 3 months or 2 months, 4 months, that brings you a lot of agility at a business level. So I think that this should also be the name of the game. Not only daily meetings, not only user stories, okay? This is far more important for your customer. And then when we talk about adaptation, again, I have customers that they are doing, they implement some kind of agile method, and they are like sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 4. Then the customer says, I need something now. No, sorry. We've done the back end, the back end, and the back end. But there's no front end yet. But we're doing sprints, okay, and we have daily meetings, and we have Scrum, and we have retrospectives. So yeah, I guess we are agile, right? We do everything by the book. But still the customer is like, I don't have nothing. And then he's like, oh, so you haven't started the front end yet? Because I have new ideas on how would I like the front end. And they're like, no, sorry. Keep them to yourself. We are going to finish this project, and then you can fire another project to redo the front end, because all the back end has been made with the front end in mind. If you change the front end now, we have to change the back end. That's a lot of work. We're not going to do that. And I'm like, so you were what? Agile? And they call themselves an agile company, and they all have these nifty certificates that said, I dozed off for 2 days in a certified Scrum Master course. And at the end, I got this lousy certificate. You know for a fact there are cats that are certified Scrum Masters, right? This is a fact. There are cats that are certified Scrum Masters. They were dozing off in a seminar, and when they woke up, they had a certificate stapled to their ear. Now you're certified. So anyway, yay, we are agile. No, you're not. Or you're not as agile as you could be. I think that the adaptation dimension of agility would mean that we start with an idea and we are like, yeah, probably this is going to look like a big square or something. But then we open the possibility that at the middle of a project, we understand that we need some triangles. And at the end of a project, we understand that we don't need so many triangles. Maybe we need some circles. And that's something that will happen, and that's how we maximize value for the final customer. If you are not able to do that in your projects, you have to rethink your concept of agility. And it doesn't matter if you're doing sprints. It doesn't matter if you're doing backlogs. I always say that it's very easy. You know, it's very easy to get... You keep doing the things the same way you've done them for your whole life, but then suddenly you have a wall, and everything you have to do, you put up on a Post-it note and in a column that says it needs to be done. When you're doing that, then you move it to another column that says we're doing that. And then when it's done, you move it to another column that says it's done. And yay, guess what? We are agile. And then someone says, no, because in order to do Scrum, there's already also these ceremonies, amazing name. And they say, no, yeah, we are already doing the ceremonies. You have the project manager, now he's called the product owner, and he comes once a month with a lot of work and says, this needs to be done in a month. So now we have a backlog, that's a product planning session, and now we have an estimation for the commitment for the sprint. Because we are doing 1 month sprints or 6 month sprints, okay? And then we work every day, and the project manager, product owner comes every day and says, are you done yet? You said you were going to do 5 user stories this week. You only did 3. Why? Have you tried working faster? Guess what? We never thought about that. That's a cool idea. Let's work faster. Let's program faster. Cool, brilliant. And then once a month we deliver something, then the customer yells at us, saying, this is not what I wanted. We call that the sprint review. And then we go to a bar, we order some gin tonics or some beers if we're in Germany, and then we look at each other and we say, man, it sucks being us. And that's the retrospective, and it's a check, 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 check. Certified, you are doing Scrum. So for me, I'm a big fan of Scrum. I do Scrum in all my customers. I'm not bashing Scrum. I'm saying it's very easy to fake Scrum. Second most easiest thing to fake. Okay, I'm not going that way. I'm running out of time. I was going to talk about collaboration. I talk about the startup syndrome, where we have 4 or 5 guys and they work along together and they are super happy and they start to make magic, and then the company starts to really, really work well, and then suddenly they have a lot of work. So maybe the developer starts to hire more developers. And then one day he's like, oh, and I also need some architect. Probably I will need some IT guys. So you have specialization. And then suddenly the designer, of course, the guy with the beard and the thick glasses, that's the designer, of course. Then he says, I need more designers. I need more hipsters for my company, okay? We have to be a hipster company, okay? Even the girls have beards and... And then suddenly he needs a UX specialist, and then he needs someone that is a specialist in search engine management and search engine optimization. And you know what? When there were 4 guys in a flat trying to make some business, they could do everything together, and everyone could do anything. But now suddenly, if the UX guy is ill and it's on holiday, it's not possible to do anything in the whole company because the UX guy is not here. So he's not approving the designs, he's not approving the interfaces, so we cannot put anything into production until these guys come here. And also when he comes, but then the IT guy is on vacation, nobody can put anything into production because you cannot log into the machine. And you cannot, run scripts on the machine, and you cannot ping the machine because, ICMP packets, they are so dangerous. And they could kill the server. And then suddenly the money guy starts hiring more people to do accounting, and then suddenly he also needs an analyst. And then one day they are like, we need a marketing manager. And then they hire someone that joins the C-level executive board meeting, and then suddenly this new guy that is doing marketing and the technical guy, they hate each other and they cannot talk to each other, and then suddenly you have 200 people, and then you start crossing people in the company, and you're like, who's that guy? I don't know. And then one day these 4 guys, they meet together on a bar and they look at each other and say, dude, what has happened? We were cool. And now we are mainstream. We are another instance of the corporate madness. Why? Because we started doing departments. We started doing silos. Everyone started focusing on their own part of the work instead of looking to each other and collaborating together. So another thing you should be looking at your company if you want to improve agility is your ability to collaborate across your whole company and structure yourself according to value streams. Where a value stream is, since we detect a necessity, a need for a customer, until the need is fulfilled and the customer has paid us and he's happy, how many people is needed? How many people need to collaborate in that stream? And we should maximize our ability to make that people collaborate together. I recently bumped into this concept from Starbucks. And in Starbucks, they said, everything in this company works for the barista. The barista, the person that prepares the coffee, is the customer touch point. When I go to Starbucks, the person that represents Starbucks for me is the barista. He's the one delivering the Starbucks experience for me. So it shouldn't happen that the barista says, hey, there's no coffee, we need more coffee. And then someone from the purchasing department is like, oh, whoa, what do you mean more coffee? You need to create a request and you need a budget allocation. And then you have to give me a list of 3 approved vendors. And then we have to make an RFP. And then we have to negotiate the prices of the coffee. And then you need to provide also a forecast on how much coffee are you going to be using over the next 5 years. And you're like, I quit. That's the difference between having a department, a purchasing department, which is an enabler, someone that makes possible that every single time I try to grab coffee, there's coffee there. That's your job. From a bottleneck. But it's very easy for people, once they feel they are in control of the purchasing process, they start building APIs, interfaces. Instead of talking to people, hey, what do you need? They build an interface. And you're, excuse me, no, don't talk to me. Open a ticket. It's like the IT guys. Do not talk to me. I'm not here. I'm a ninja. You can't see me. Open a ticket. That's an API. I mean, we created an interface so we can talk to each other. What the actual fudge? Okay, so I don't care how many user stories you have in your backlog. You can't talk to people in your company saying, I have a problem, I need help. There's a value stream stalled because you cannot help us. I don't care about how many tools and methods and processes and frameworks you have installed. Okay, so that will be the collaboration level. Finally, in order to finish my talk, and I will give you 5 minutes for questions, when it comes to continuous improvement, it's very similar to the value delivery. A lot of people, when I talk to customers, they are like, well, how long is it going to take, the agile transformation? And I'm like, wrong answer, question, irrelevant answer. Wrong question, irrelevant answer. Wrong question, because you believe that in an agile transformation, there's a beginning where you are not agile, you are not agile, you are not agile, and on a given deadline, now we are agile. Of course, that's your mindset. You've been doing that for your whole life, and you still think that transformation works that way. It's not that way, okay? It's probably more an asymptote to perfection. We will never be perfect. We will still struggle year after year after year after year to be better. So it makes no sense to say how much it's going to take, how long it's going to take, because there's no beginning and ending. We cannot measure that, okay? You know that in martial arts, all the black belt thing came because when Western people, we started doing martial arts, we were like, how long is it going to take me to learn karate? Because I saw this, or Kung Fu, I saw this movie, The Matrix, they put something in your head and you say, oh, now I know Kung Fu, okay? That's our mindset. I know Kung Fu, every Kung Fu, forever. And then the Japanese and Chinese martial artists, they were like, no, it's not that way. You could spend 7 lives perfecting your martial arts and you still will have things to learn. And then Western was like, oh, then I'm not interested. That's too long, 7 lives. And then they had to say, okay, in 6 years we will give you a black belt. How cool is that? And then now I sign in. So you have to provide something. And I do believe that the certificate industry is the black belts of agility. We have to provide something. Hey, here you are. Here you are. Oh, no, I'm a ninja. I'm going to take the SPC Safe certification class and exam soon. Okay, so I'm bitching about certificates, and still I'm going to get into the certificate industries because people everywhere, all companies in the world are like, yeah, okay, I understand, but where are my certificates? Okay, you've won. So anyway, but that's not the important thing. It's a perk, or maybe something nice, or maybe something, you know, like a party you throw in some point in order to say, okay, we've reached this point, now let's keep going. The problem is that if you think there's a deadline and now we're done, then you still have to understand what's agility. And I said, wrong question, irrelevant answer. Why irrelevant answer? Imagine that I could say, okay, there's a path. There's something you can do every single day of your life. And each day you do it, you will be a little bit happier, a little bit happier, a little bit happier every single day of your life. And maybe in 40 years' time, maybe in 60 years' time, maybe in 7 lives, you will reach nirvana, which is the liberation of suffering, the liberation of the wheel of samsara. You will be out of that. How cool is that? And you are like, well, you mean 40 years, 60 years, 7 lives? I'm not interested. I prefer to feel miserable for the rest of my life. Dude, I'm telling you that every single life you practice this path, you will be a little bit happier. How cool is that? That's it. A little bit happier. No, I'm not interested. I prefer to be miserable. Makes no sense. So even if I told you it's going to take 6 years to make your company agile, who cares? Every single moment, every single day, you feel that for those 6 years it will be suffering, 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 and then suddenly nirvana. No, it's not that way. Every single day we start practicing agility, we are improving things. So we start with these projects that take 18 months to go into production, and suddenly we are able to do them in 9 months. Oh, that's cool. But then suddenly we can do them in 4 months. And that's like, wow, warp speed for banking. Okay, they're like, woo, I'm dizzy. And then suddenly we are doing that every 2 months, and then suddenly every month, and then suddenly every 2 weeks. And even if you are able to push software to production every 2 weeks, you should try to do that every week. And then you should try to put software into production every day, and then every hour, and then every second. And then, well, if you're doing every second, you're right. Okay, you can stop there. Once a second, that's cool. You can stop there. You have my permission. So, again, this is the dimension of continuous improvement. And the last thing I wanted to tell you, and to give you something practical, how are we using this philosophy in a practical way? Well, a lot of companies, they are like, we want to measure our agility. We want to assess our agility. And I'm like, not the point, dude, but still, it's important for a lot of big companies, insurance, banking, they have their own processes. You have to play by their rules and play inside the system. What are we doing? We are presenting a graph where we have 4 dimensions. Early and continuous delivery of value, collaboration with the customer, collaboration in high-performance teams, continuous improvement. For each of these dimensions, we are creating several questions. So we are asking the team, do you feel like the customer is available for you during the whole sprint from 1 to 10? And they are like 0, or they are like 6, or they are like 7. And we also use the perfection game in the sense that if you don't say 10, if you say 7, you have to also tell us, what do you need in order to make it an 8? And what would be a 10? So they are also giving us ideas. If the customer was available, at least on the phone, every 2 days, that would be an 8. So we are like, cool, that's something we can try in order to improve customer collaboration, customer availability. And then we rate those numbers. These numbers are absolutely, qualitative. But still, it's important. A lot of companies, they are like, no, but I have to measure that with like a Geiger counter. 1,256 agile points. It's not going to happen. But you cannot also use that in your relationship with someone. You're like, oh, my girl, she loves me so much. How do you know? What's the KPI? What are you measuring? You need some metrics probably to know that. But no, either you know or you don't. And if you don't, bad cue. That's a bad tip. So anyway, we have these questions and we have some variables, and we ask people how happy you are. And in 3 months, we ask them again. And there are some things that they are still unhappy, and there are some things that have improved a little bit. And we reflect that in a graph, and we show people, okay, we've improved in collaboration, we've improved in value delivery, still we need a lot to improve in customer collaboration and adaptation. And why? Oh, we are very low in these markers. Like, for instance, in our ability to bring the customer to planning meetings, or we are not able to introduce changes once we are past a certain point in the project, or whatever. You decide in your company what's important for you, what's your problem. So this is a tool, we call it the Agile Assessment Tool, or you can call it whatever you want, or you can adapt it. There's several other ways we are using it, but the idea is using these 4 dimensions to plan your transformation and to trigger and fire relevant conversations around what's agility. So that was my talk. Thank you so much.